All right, let's talk about something that's at the absolute core of teaching today, the inclusive classroom. I mean, with all the diversity we see, how do we actually build a learning space where every single student doesn't just survive, but truly thrives? Let's dive in. So let me ask you this, and if you're a teacher, I bet this one really hits home. When you look out at your class, you're not just teaching one group, are you? No way. You're teaching like 30 different students. Each one is a whole universe of their own, amazing, complex, and yeah, sometimes challenging. So how on earth do you manage all that complexity? Well, the source material we're looking at today actually breaks it down into 12 common challenges that teachers run into. 12 different things. But here's the cool part. They're all connected. And that's what we're going to unpack. Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with a big picture challenge, then get into the nitty-gritty of different minds and learning speeds, talk about student well-being, and even look at stuff beyond the lesson plan. And we'll wrap it all up by showing how this all boils down to just really smart teaching. All right, first up, today's inclusive classroom challenge. Let's just set the scene here. The classroom today, it is packed with incredible diversity. And you know what that means? Immense potential. And the key thing to remember is that this diversity isn't some problem we need to solve. It's just the reality. It's the amazing material we get to work with. The whole point of inclusive teaching isn't to make everyone the same, but to have these really smart, flexible strategies that give everyone a key to unlock the learning. Okay, so let's get into our first big category of challenges. I kind of think of this as the how they learn bucket. This is all about the huge academic and mental variety you see in your students every single day. So in this bucket, we've got a few things: mixed proficiency levels, different learning paces, neurodivergent learners, and of course, students with limited confidence in the language. I mean, that's a massive range, right? You've got kids who are worlds apart in what they know, some who just think differently, and others who are held back by what's going on inside their own heads. Let's dig into a couple of these. Okay, check this out because this distinction is so important. On one side, you have mixed proficiency. That's all about what a student knows. But on the other, you've got different paces, which is about how fast they can process stuff. And they are not the same thing. You could have a super advanced student who just needs a little more time to think. See why you need both different kinds of tasks and more flexible timing? It's a game changer. And then, of course, there's neurodiversity. We're talking about learners with autism, ADHD, dyslexia. For them, it's not really about proficiency or pace in the traditional sense. It's about the very format of the lesson itself. Things like having clear visual aids, giving information in different ways, like both seeing and hearing it, and cutting down on sensory overload. These aren't just nice to have. For these students, they can be absolutely essential. Oh, and this one. This is a big one. Confidence. It's this invisible wall. You can have a student who totally gets it, but they're so terrified of making a mistake that they just stay silent. So what do? We have to become architects of small wins. We've got to build these little low-stakes moments where they can succeed, feel that success, and really internalize that we're aiming for progress, not perfection. All right, so we've talked about the how they learn bucket, but you and I both know that how a student learns is completely tied up in, well, how they feel. So let's shift gears and look at student well-being, the whole emotional landscape of the classroom. And man, this stuff gets personal. We're talking about those shy, anxious, or just quiet kids, the ones who struggle with attention and self-regulation, and not because they're trying to be difficult, but because their brains are just wired differently. And then you have the learners who are dealing with some really heavy emotional stuff. It's a lot. Think about those shy or anxious students. For them, the fear of making a mistake in front of everyone can be, like, totally paralyzing. So here's a brilliant, simple strategy. Have them talk in pairs first. Just turn to a partner and share your idea. By doing that before asking them to speak to the whole class, you slash the risk. It's like a safe little rehearsal space that builds up the confidence they need for the main event. And I love this comparison because it shows two totally different internal needs. For a student with attention difficulties, the answer might be physical. They need to move, take a quick break, or have a big task broken down into tiny pieces. But for a student dealing with emotional distress, the answer is relational. They need a teacher who gets it, who is flexible, and who invests in building trust. Different needs, but the solution is the same at its core: creating a supportive environment. Okay. We've gone deep into the internal world of our students, their minds and their hearts. Now let's zoom out and look at the external factors, the stuff beyond the lesson plan, like their environment and their access to learning. Let's call this the how they connect bucket. And whoa, this is a big one. We're talking about diverse linguistic and cultural backgrounds, students with sensory or physical needs, lessons that just feel totally irrelevant to them, technology gaps, and even just the challenge of a big, diverse class itself. That alone is a huge factor. So here's the absolute key takeaway. Inclusion isn't just about, mentioning a few different holidays. It's about designing lessons that are genuinely culturally responsive, lessons that connect to your students' actual lives. When you do that, you're not just teaching a topic, you're validating who they are and making them feel seen. And once a lesson feels relevant, engagement just happens.
And this really drives home the point that access means different things to different people. For one student, access could be a physical thing, like needing to sit closer to the board or getting materials in a bigger font. But for another student, access is about technology. Maybe they don't have a reliable device or internet at home, so an online-only assignment is a huge barrier. A truly inclusive classroom has a plan for both.
Okay, so we've walked through all 12 of these challenges. Academic, emotional, environmental, the whole shebang. But here's where it all comes together. They might seem like 12 separate problems, but they're not. They're all pointing to one single powerful idea. Because when you boil it all down, this is what an inclusive challenge really is. It's about all the differences in proficiency, pace, attention, emotion, identity, access, and participation. It's the beautiful, sometimes messy, but always incredible spectrum of what it means to be human. It's about seeing those differences and responding to them. Which brings us to the million-dollar question, right? Is all this stuff just extra? Are these just special things you have to do for a couple of students? Another item on a to-do list that's already a mile long? And the answer is a huge, emphatic no. And this quote says it all. Inclusive strategies should not be seen as special extras for a few students, but as smart teaching practices that benefit the whole class. Think about it. When you provide clear visuals, yeah, it helps the student with dyslexia, but it also helps your visual learners and the kid who just zoned out for a second. When you break down instructions, it helps the student with ADHD, but it also helps everybody understand a complicated task. It's not extra work. It's just smart work.
So that's what we'll leave you with. This isn't about throwing out everything you do and starting from scratch. No way. It's about making small, intentional shifts. So, what's one small, inclusive shift you can make in your classroom tomorrow? Maybe it's just pausing for a few extra seconds after you ask a question. Maybe it's offering a choice on one little assignment. What's that one little thing you can do that opens up a door for one student and ends up making the entire room just a little bit brighter for everyone?